Just so you know, this show is about scary stuff. So don't say I didn't warn you guys. And remember, don't be scared.
Minisode number 3, American Copycat. War Baby here with another episode of Murderous Minors. One of the more unnerving characteristics of a young killer is their capacity for premeditation. Methodical preparation, endless fantasizing, and the inclination towards relentless obsession make a premeditated murderer scarier than a run-of-the-mill killer. Sprinkle in youth, the frequent catalyst for poor decision-making, and the scope of the disaster can only intensify. A smart kid, one who gets good grades and performs well academically, can still have the inability to truly determine the consequences of their actions. But more importantly, youth affords a kid killer the ability to ignore them. On this episode, a journal will once again be a kid killer's downfall. This journal had a page chronicling a love of all things violent, horrifying, and gory. Like the movie American Psycho, whose lead character Patrick Bateman tries hard to project the facade of physical perfection to make for a sharper mind. All the while, he kills those around him. Michael Hernandez of Miami, Florida turned 14 years old on February 2, 2004. That very day, he made an entry in his disturbing journal. It was a list which contained 3 names entitled victims, his older sister Christina's, and those of his 2 best friends, Andre and Jaime. Then items to pack: tape, gloves, jacket, hat, knife. Numbered instructions follow. 1. Lead his friend Andre to the school bathroom and kill him. 2. Sit his corpse on the toilet. 3. Follow number 1 with Jaime. 4. Follow number 2 with Jaime. Number 7 is make sure they are dead, make sure there is no one in the bathrooms. If so, kill them. 8 reads, thank God for success in killing first. The child was an enigma, even at this young age. Barely 14, he showed academic promise and was enrolled in the gifted student program at Southwood Middle in Miami, Florida. His mother told Emily Witt of the Miami New Times that he was always happy and inquisitive as a child, and those who interacted with him at school didn't see any signs glaring out at them. No one really did, that is, until after. After February 3rd, 2004, the day after Mike's 14th birthday, the day after he made that list. After February 3rd, the day he lured 14-year-old classmate and so-called best friend Jaime Gough into a school bathroom stall and slit his windpipe and jugular veins, before stabbing him 42 times and leaving him dead. It was 8:40 a.m. Jaime was quiet, but mostly just with strangers. Insightful and musical, with friends he was witty but didn't go out of his way to seek out attention. A stark contrast from Michael, one teacher said in that New Times story, remarking that he had a more charismatic and disruptive personality, although it had never become an actual behavioral issue at school. Once Jaime's lifeless body was found draped over a toilet, school had just started. As it turned out, on Mike's birthday the day before, he had already tried out a rudimentary version of his murder plan. Just as school started, Mike, Andre, his close friend since 3rd grade, and Jaime all convened in that bathroom, a little tardy. Andre later recounted how Mike attempted to get the boys into the handicap stall, but then the last bell rang and Andre left as he didn't like to be late. He would find out later that Mike wanted to choke him with a belt in there before stabbing him to death. Nothing happened that day, but the next day was different. Once he was sure Jaime was dead, Mike showed up tardy and bloody to his first period class. By the time he arrived, telling everyone that the blood on his nose, shirt, and leg was caused by running into a door, Classmates recalled that he was uncharacteristically quiet. According to the New Times article, the lockdown prompted a student in class to check her radio for news, and they heard that a body had been found on their campus. Mike's reaction to this news was, "Oh shit." Although Michael Hernandez was intelligent and inquisitive, he also had a fairly newfound blossoming obsession with the darkest sides of life. It was reported that he used his school computer to access hardcore pornography and violent imagery, and that decapitated heads once served as his wallpaper. His parents, whether ignorant or preoccupied, admittedly missed many signs that could have led to psychiatric intervention in the weeks and months leading up to Jaime's murder. He became fixated with lists and began to exhibit behaviors often associated with obsessive-compulsive disorder. Mike devised a grueling schedule which included intense exercising that he punished himself for deviating from. He kept a to-do list for the next day by his bedside. His parents chalked it up to puberty. He was just trying to irritate them. He didn't allow them in his room anymore. He withdrew. But his journal, ever expanding, seemed to begin to chronicle a mind slipping between fantasy and real life. Goals included normal things like go to other countries and never forget God, ever. But it also included more disturbing goals than it did normal ones. Things like, you will be a serial killer or mass murderer, stay alone, own many vehicles, have many weapons, be an expert thief, etc. Always give thanks and praise to God after killing. Have a cult and plan a mass kidnapping for a new world. Mike was sent out of his class to clean up that morning, but was soon being interviewed by police. Everyone questioned had identified him as Jaime's wingman. They were always together. They were actually spotted together that morning, and police wanted to know more. Investigators and his parents were pretty certain that Mike had witnessed something, heard something, knew something, and they just wanted to know what happened. Was it another student? Or, an equally terrible thought, a teacher or staff member? Mike attempted to play off what he knew at first, blaming an unknown individual he called Sangre as the killer. But that charade soon fizzled out, and the horrible truth came into full view. Mike had killed Jaime. He had wanted to, thought about it, planned it out, and executed that plan. Executed his friend.
Why did you make the suggestion to Jaime to go inside the school today?
I was planning to murder him. I got him into the stall by saying, look, I have something to show you. So I got him into the stall, and I told him to turn around because I wanted it to be a surprise. I was talking to him, and I told him, all right, now I have to put my hand over your mouth.
Okay.
And so I did, and I lifted his neck up. I took the knife out, and I proceeded to slit his throat.
Did Jaime say or do anything? Did he put up a struggle?
Yes, he did. He turned around after I did that, and he asked me not to kill him. So I told him, okay, I'm not going to if you cooperate.
Okay.
Which was a lie.
Right.
And so I realized that the stall door was open, so I locked it.
Yes.
And then I turned him around again and proceeded to stab him.
Do you think what you did is right or wrong?
No, I don't.
Well, what don't you think?
I think it is neither right, but I don't think it was wrong.
Do you know what you did is wrong?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
He was arrested and charged with 1-count first-degree murder, gaining an attempted murder charge later as well, once Andre told his story and the journal had been recovered. He spent the next 3 years on the juvenile block at Turner Guilford Night Correctional Center, spending each day under fluorescence, not allowed outside for any beneficial length of time. Mike's defense attorney had just successfully had Lionel Tate's conviction overturned and got him a plea deal for second-degree murder, eventually freeing him. For a reminder on how that debacle turned out, feel free to revisit the episode The Wrestling Defense. The goal here was also a plea deal from the state, but the cases showed little parallels. The basis of this defense was theretofore unrecognized, untreated, and undiagnosed mental illness. A scan on his brain showed no evidence of an abnormality such as a tumor or a lesion. Lesions such as the two rumored to be seen on Josh Phillips' frontal lobe scans. That evidence was barred from court in the Maddie Clifton murder case, as we saw in Yellow Ribbons for Maddie, so a precedent in Florida had already been set. The defense was grasping at straws, looking for a reason where maybe one did not exist. Michael Hernandez went to trial in the summer of 2007 and was convicted in 2008.
God tears out a piece of your heart, molds it into a baby, gives it to you, and says, cultivate this. And that's what you do. The penalty for the crimes is life imprisonment without the possibility of parole.
While his appeal was in the works, the United States Supreme Court deemed such sentences unconstitutional, and his conviction was overturned on March 20, 2013. A new sentencing hearing began in August of 2015, and it was covered extensively on local news. The prosecutor was unrestrained and unrelenting no matter whom she was questioning, even Mike's parents. His mother, who didn't notice he had any mental illness as a young teen, was now the biggest proponent for his treatment. His mother, who didn't notice he had any mental illness as a young teen, was now his biggest proponent for treatment, repeatedly bringing it up under oath.
I don't think that they're able to provide the type of mental health rehabilitation that he needs. I believe that the sentence had to be life without parole because that was the law at the time. I believe to tack on an additional 30 years was a little excessive, yes.
Mike's father was grilled about routinely playing music with violent and disturbing lyrics through the phone to his son in prison. What you hear at the beginning of this next clip is the prosecutor playing a snippet of such a song for the court before questioning Mr. Hernandez. The word die is screamed twice.
It doesn't concern you that your son is fascinated, continued to be fascinated, with serial murderers and music that screams out for Hitler.
I don't see that he's fascinated with serial killers, and just one song doesn't make a man.
The prosecutor was attempting to portray to the judge, who was the very same judge who had sentenced Mike to life without parole in 2008, that the passing of 5 years behind bars in adult prison had only made him more deranged. Not only did Mr. Hernandez play music for his son, he researched and went over facts about different serial killers with him, conversations that took place on a recorded jailhouse line. Calls like these two conversations Mike had with a female pen pal named Brittany, who I think sounds much, much older than him. She may be older, but she isn't very bright.
This whole situation has me frustrated on any number of levels. You know what I mean? And it just seems like such a needless formality that put me through another psychological interview. I've been interviewed by so many psychiatrists over the years. It's ridiculous. And you know, what more do you want from me?
For sure. Well, why don't you practice your weekend learning how to cry?
Oh my God. God, man, I have to stab myself.
Oh my God.
I can try to bring a sharp object to the interview.
Mm-hmm.
You have something in your hand, Mr. Hernandez? No. Stab. See, I can cry.
I'm human, I swear. Look at these tears.
When I have life-threatening wounds, I can cry.
Oh, Lordy.
I can tell about the time I almost cried when Brian got killed on Family Guy. Is there anything that gets an emotional reaction out of you, Mr. Hernandez? Yeah, there was this episode where the creator of Family Guy actually killed off Brian, and that was a very emotional time for me.
Yes, that would go over well.
So nothing else? No, that's about it. That about takes care of my emotional repertoire.